Cool. So we've found the trail. We've built an app with it. Now I'm going to show how the trail is actually built and teach you about some of the Herd Explorer features as well. So if we go back to here, you'll remember there's a view button up here. If I click this takes us to the trail canvas, all right? And you'll see that there's a single node here that says fiat token v2, it's the USDC contract, it's the transfer function. And we could fork this trail just by clicking here. And I'm actually going to delete this node so we can just start from scratch. So you'll see I clicked Ask Sage here. We have an Explorer or co-terminal with an agent called Sage. And I can go and search up any contracts, token, protocol, etc. I'm just going to search up USDC here for now. And once it loads, I can see, hey, there's this USDC token here that has, looks about right statistics-wise. And I now can add it into memory. All right, memory, this works similar to other AI tools where it's like you add it here so you can refer to it later. By later, I mean now. And so there's adding a step to a trail. I can either add a function for contract, I can add a token swap, which we'll come to in a later tutorial, or I can just add from transactions in my actual wallet address. And I could just add this transfer step from here. But for now, let's just go and select, hey, I want to call the transfer function. And this will now pull up here where I can see a summary as well as this edit inputs field. All right. And so the way we think about functions in Trails is they're really just like Google Forms. There's all this other complexity around like, encoding, ABIs, RPCs, wallets, etc. But if you ignore all of that, a function is just a form. And we allow Trailblazers to decide how the form values should be derived. So if I change the derive method here from create a hard-coded to say user input, I can paste in an ENS address and say, all right, I want someone to transfer me any amount of USDC, which I know to be 6 decimals. And yes, the LLM will get better at actually helping you out here in the future. I'll say this is amount of USDC to transfer. This is me kind of describing an intent to an LLM. I could actually even just hard code this if I didn't want to let people change it. All right, and I'll say, hey, transferring USDC to me. All right, and I can save this, and then all I have to do now is click publish, and this will actually go and publish the trail, and this gets me what we call an overlook. All right, this is basically exactly the same thing you saw here, where this will allow anyone to kind of come through and go and transact in this trail. All right, and this is shareable as a public web link or as a Farcaster mini app. So if you don't want to build out a whole like web app or whatnot for people to use, that's fine. You can just share them with this. Now you'll remember that earlier this one had the read data, right, where I could see the amount that was transferred. All I need to do for this is there's actually a few options. I can go and toggle read API, which will now allow me to use this to see, hey, for that transaction that already occurred, go get me the input data. Or I could go and add a source node. All right, so source nodes are basically nodes that aren't actually executed as a transaction, but are still used in either deriving inputs or just for reading data. So for this case, let's just go and find the transfer event. And I could say, hey, I want this to be a read node where the transaction comes from the transfer step. I could go and filter things more if I want, but we won't get into that for now. All right, and I'll say, hey, this gets the transfer event data. And this will now show up here as well. But obviously this has to be called after the transaction has already been submitted. Now say that you actually have no idea what USDC is, and you want to better understand it. you can actually go to the Explorer page, which nicely summarizes everything the contract does. It shows you versions that have been deployed, as well as if you go to functions, you can see like summaries of functions, which ones are called the most. And you can even dive deeper to go and see the latest transactions kind of calling this function. So there's a lot here. There's an agent that you can ask any questions to about the contract to better understand it as well. We'll get more into using the Explorer in future trails that are much more complex than this one. So again, I hope you've learned something today and you're excited to both build apps and trails with Herd. Again, this is fully accessible to everyone now. You just go to herd.eco. We've got a Discord as well that you can join and ask any questions, share your trails, share your creations, and excited to see you around and have you as part of the Herd.